Hi, everyone. For this week's assignment, I interviewed one of my close friends to understand their knowledge, perceptions, and concerns about nutritional genomics. At the beginning of the interview, I asked them what they knew about the topic. Their response was that they had only heard of it in passing and assumed it meant something about food and DNA, but they didn't really know specifics. I provided a brief explanation that nutritional genomics is the study of how our genes interact with nutrients and how those interactions can influence health outcomes. Once they had that background, I asked how they thought it might be relevant to their own health. They shared that they noticed certain foods like coffee seemed to affect them differently than other people, so they could see the value in testing that explains why responses to food can be so individual. After watching the video on nutrigenomics testing, they said they would be interested in testing if the price was reasonable. They found that the concept of personalized nutrition motivating, since it feels more actionable than generic nutritional advice. This is consistent with recent research showing that people are more motivated to make dietary changes when nutrition advice is personalized to their genetic makeup. They also shared concerns, especially about privacy of their genetic information and how accurate or predictive the results really are. These are valid concerns since ethical questions about data protection, potential misuse, and informed consent continue to be central in the nutrigenomics field. When I asked about benefits, they highlighted personalized recommendation and prevention strategies as key positives. In terms of risks, they worried about the misuse of genetic data by insurance companies or employers, though they said that this would not necessarily stop them from testing if strong protections were in place. They wanted to know more about the scientific evidence and long-term usefulness of the testing before committing. This reflects what I found in the literature, where consumers express curiosity and openness, but also a desire for stronger evidence before fully embracing the testing. Psychologically, they felt that results could be both motivating and stressful, depending on the outcome. Learning that they were high risk for conditions with no treatment would likely cause anxiety, while being told they had no risk could lead to complacency. When asked about willingness to change their diet based on genetic results, they said they would try if the recommendations were realistic, but extreme restrictions might be too difficult. Finally, they closed by saying that they thought the field was promising but still new, and they would only feel comfortable doing testing if it were interpreted by a qualified professional. This aligns with current recommendations that nutrigenomics testing should only be delivered through trained healthcare professionals who can interpret results responsibly. Reflecting on their answers, I found myself agreeing with several points. I share their view that nutritional genomics has real potential to motivate behavior change, since personalized recommendations can be more powerful than general advice. I also agree with their concern about privacy protection. Where I would gently disagree is in their uncertainty about the validity of the science. While it is true that the field is emerging, the scientific evidence base is growing quickly. Studies have shown that specific gene variants, such as those affecting caffeine metabolism or the FTO gene related to weight regulation, can influence how individuals respond to diet. If this were a patient encounter, I would acknowledge their caution, validate the importance of making informed decisions, and then provide reputable evidence-based sources that show where nutrigenomics is currently strongest and where the evidence is still limited. In terms of observations, I noticed that during the interview, their body language showed genuine engagement. They leaned forward when discussing privacy concerns and gave thoughtful pauses before answering more personal questions. Their level of knowledge at the start was minimal, but their curiosity grew quickly once the video and explanations were provided. They seem open to the idea of testing, but also cautious and thoughtful about the risks, which reflects a balanced level of receptiveness. This interview taught me that consumer knowledge of nutritional genomics is still quite limited, as is my own. Most people have only a vague idea of what it means, but when given a short explanation and practical examples, interest increases quickly. It also showed me that privacy and ethical considerations are very important to consumers and maybe the deciding factor in whether they pursue testing. Finally, reflecting on what I learned this week, I see two key opportunities to integrate nutritional genomics into practice. The first is using it as a motivational tool. Research shows people are more likely to adopt healthy behaviors when given personalized, gene-based information rather than just generic advice. The second opportunity is in prevention and early intervention, where genetic testing could guide dietary strategies before chronic disease develop. As nutrition professionals, our role is to integrate these tools in a way that is ethical, evidence-informed, and client-centered. That means staying current with the science, providing clear explanations of both benefits and limitations, protecting patient privacy, and ensuring that results are interpreted responsibly. Overall, this interview reinforced that while the science of nutritional genomics is still growing, it holds promise for making nutrition care more individualized and impactful. And I think it's our responsibility to embrace those innovations thoughtfully and ethically so that the patients feel informed, supported, and protected. Thank you.